Good morning, Stampers. It's Friday, so it's Friday Fun Day with Becky. Hi, I'm Becky Hahn at Becky's Stampin' Studio in Davenport, Iowa, and I'm here today to share with you a fold. Last two times I have done techniques. Today I'm going to do a fold that was actually originally shared by a good friend of mine from Minnesota, Terri Gaines. And I will be showing the card that she shared, but mine are a take on my own thing, so they're Becky's originals. So this card I'm calling a funky fun fold. There's no name for it, so that's what I came up with. I frequently have had to do that in the past. I will be using the Tulip Fields bundle today. And I'll be sharing some other samples with you. If you see anything that you would like to order, we still have 2 weeks of, about 2.5 of celebration left, and you can place an order with me using this host code or visit my website at beckystampinstudio.blogspot.com. So let's get started. This fold is a little different. It's very similar to some other things we have done. This one I created using the little windmill, and we'll take a look at that set. And the reason it's kind of a funky fold is it opens this way, and then it opens this way to reveal a place for you to put your message and sentiment and that kind of thing. So, you know, it's like a... I can't even think of the gal's name. Anyway, so that is what we're going to be doing. My inspiration for this actually came from a piece I demonstrated 2 weeks ago when I used the butterflies and flowers layering masks. So I had made kind of a Delft piece and put the little windmill on it. I had seen again a sample very similar to this, and behind it were two of the circles. I don't know if you can see the little detail on that from the Tasteful Labels dies. The other thing that I used for inspiration, the DSP is actually from Blessings of Home. And I made this card using the whole piece from Blessings from Home and the windmill that goes, a die set that goes with this bundle. And look at this darling little bike. I just love it. So that was where my inspiration came from. So sometimes when I'm looking to create something, I will go back and look at color combination, layout, whatever of something I've already done. And so that's what I did here. So stamp set. Tulip Fields, oh so fun. You can create your own field of tulips, which I have not done yet. I'll show it to you in the mini catalog. It has a set of dies. So you've got a 2-piece windmill base, an awesome detailed windmill, some little fence pieces. This is the piece that I'm using that coordinates with a stamp in the stamp set. There's trees. Look at this little grove of tulips and clouds, and it's really got a lot for you to work with. And then we have photopolymer stamps there. Let me show it to you in the mini catalog. The suite, and this is a full suite, so we have a lot of pieces in it, is on page 14 and 15 in the mini catalog. If you don't have a mini catalog yet, please drop me a line and I'll see that you get it. Here's one here in the center with the grove or the field of flowers. Next week, I'll be showing you how to do these dimensional tulips. There's some little brass butterflies, but these are the actual stamps. So this is one set of the bundle, which I'm using, the Tulip Fields. Here's the field. And it comes with the detailed windmill. The other bundle in the set is the actual tulips, flowering tulips. And this I'll be using next week. So you have 2 separate bundles. If you decide to get the whole suite, which is what I did, you get both stamp sets, this neat window pane ribbon in Evening Evergreen, the brass butterflies, and this gorgeous paper with a lot of colors. The piece that I am using today is actually from this set. Can you see DSP? It's called Flowering Fields. all the colors that are in it. So you have the tulip theme, and then you've got kind of a checkerboard background. This one has that feeling of dimension in the field. Look at this. Isn't this gorgeous? I'm anxious to try some of these actually for the tulips. I have yet to use this piece, and I love lavender, so I don't know why I haven't used it yet. And then again, we have kind of a watercolor. Love. This is basically Mango Melody and Pumpkin Pie, along with the Evening Evergreen. And there's your mango and pumpkin pie there. So many things you can put together. Poppy Parade with a little pale papaya. Or petal pink, I'm sorry. This is petal pink. You have your own clouds. And then this lovely set of larger tulips and some more clouds. So this has a lot of possibilities. I'm on my third pack of paper, and I haven't really used it too much in class. I do still do in-person classes. So I'm going to set this aside, and I will share with you what you're going to need to make this. And I apologize for the scribbles. I need to fix this on my blog too as I get ready to post it, because I had a couple of the measurements wrong as I was getting ready to cut. Your base, and I have one here that is not white. And I have one, it ran through the black. Vanilla works too, but I usually use a piece of a neutral color, 5.5 by 7. And so this is actually right now 5.5 by 8.5. So what you're going to need to do is put it in your trimmer. Put it at 7 and trim. You don't need this piece. You can use it for something else. Okay, so this is the size of the piece you're actually going to use. Now, I say an optional quarter sheet. You're going to see what happens when we run this whole thing through an embossing folder. It makes it a little limpy. So that's an option. Your main color, I would say select your designer paper first. And this is what I'm using this time. Look at all the possibilities for colors. And it's 1 1/4 by 5.5. It's the full length of the card, the height of the card. So then your main color is 2 3/4 by 5.5. And then you're going to need 2 pieces, which I had forgotten to type. And these 2 pieces are little rectangles, and they're 2 3/4 by 3.5. One goes on the outside and one goes on the inside. Okay. So that's and then you have an optional color if you want to add just a really sliver of a color. If you've got 2 colors in your paper or your DSP, then you have just a little bit like this. So that's optional. Okay, and then you do need 2 pieces of basic white. I'm sorry, I just wrote white, basic white at 2.5 and 3 3/4. Okay, it really doesn't take too long. And yes, I am calling this a funky fold. That's my name for it. I don't know how you would search it otherwise, because I had not seen this until Terri Gaines shared it. Okay. So how do we make this card? The first thing we're going to need to do is take that 7 by 5.5, and we're going to need to score. And I do have some directions right here. We're going to score the base 1 3/8 from each end. So I'm going to put that in here and find my 3/4, or 1 3/8. My cutter's up there. And we're going to, I guess I need to pull it down a bit so you can see that's 1 3/8. I do not like to shove it across personally, but if you want that measurement, I can give it to you. And 1 3/8. And basically we're done with this. And then we're going to crease. And here's the really cool thing that Terri did. She took and left everything folded like this. She selected a background embossing folder, and I selected the brick and mortar 3D embossing folder that we've had for a while. You're going to take it folded like this, place it in the direction that works. You're going to put the whole thing, fold and all, and you're going to run it through. And I know some of you are going to be asking me, what's the blue dot? A couple of years ago, our 3D embossing folder plate was blue, and that was to remind my customers that they removed everything and used the blue plate, which we don't have. It's now gray, and it's number 4. Okay, so after you run that completely through, you will have your indentation, your embossing, not only on the flaps, but on the inside, which carries over to the back, which I think is kind of nice. It will emboss through everything. Now, as I said, this is a little flimsy. So as an added support, if you would like to add a 1/4 sheet of white, now you're probably saying, well, why didn't you just run it through thick? And then you'd have a nice sturdy card. To be honest with you, I have not tried running thick embossing, thick cardstock through a 3D embossing folder with this many layers. So I am on this one, just going to give it, and I do this sometimes when I have a white card and I get it done and it just doesn't have the support I want it to. See, so now it's got a little more support. So where do we go from here? I'm going to set this aside to bring out my directions. Let me see if you can kind of see them. Okay, so now we're going to start with the DSP. I'm going to set that aside, and this 2 3/4 inch piece. What you're going to do is put adhesive on the strip and center it. You can use your grid paper. I have a faithful clear ruler that I just love, and it's 3/4 inch and 3/4 inch. Okay, or as close to as your eye will give it to you. Okay, so you're going to put this piece down the center. Then we're going to grab our card, mount DSP in the center, place this. Maybe this doesn't make sense and it's in my directions. First of all, you want to make sure this piece is right side up. You're going to put it inside the card. So that it's centered. Okay. So essentially you have the same amount on either side. With this being a darker color, it's very, very obvious. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the left front side. This is where I love my stamp and seal. I'm going to run a full, it's just wide enough. This is 3/4 and my stamp and seal is just a little over 1/4. Make sure the bottom is, okay. And so this opens and that opens. All right. Now we're going to set this aside to build whatever you want here. Now, if you've decided on an image that is a little bigger, you can make that piece bigger. There's nothing that says you can't. However, it's going to hide more and more of the designer paper. So I've gone with Gorgeous Grape, which oddly enough is not listed in the paper. I am going to go ahead because Highland Heather is listed, and I'm going to 4 corners in the middle. This just has a 1/16 inch, not something I generally do, but it gives me the option of the same measurements for the both purples and both whites if all I do is make the optional piece. Now, on a couple of my samples, you'll see I ran this also through the same embossing folder. That's a possibility. I don't have as much trimmed from that as I'd like. So I'm going to see if I can shave off. Yeah, that's what I like about our trimmer. We can just shave if you've got a fairly good blade on it, new blade. Okay, so now I'm going to put that here. And I decided I wanted to use this little windmill, which is just darling, has a coordinating die. And I stamped it both in gorgeous grape, believe it or not. This is grape and heather. So I'm not real sure which color I want to use. On my sample, I tried several different layers because it's a little smaller than some of the other things you'll see. And I ended up using, and I don't see the die, but I have the set here. Here it is. This octagon, hexagon, I don't know, die that actually comes from Hippo and Friends. If you don't have this, I do not have the stamps. I don't use these pieces, although there's cute little balloons and flowers. All I use are these layering frames, and they are absolutely awesome. It is well worth the die set. So I used one of these. I liked how it filled the space. But what I haven't decided is, and I'm going to kind of build it on the card. This is where, one time where I wish I was live. Do I want the darker one? Or do I want, and this is what I do at home or when I'm creating. That's the dark. And you guys are sitting there going, use this one, use this one. I think I like the contrast of the dark. So let's go with the dark. And what I did is I went flat on this layer. Okay, so let's set this aside as I build. I went flat on this layer, but I put dimensionals. I always forget something. There they are. But I like the dimensionals on the, you did decide the dark one, right? And I have both my regular. And I'm going to move these out of here because those directions are on the comments for this as well as my blog. Okay, using little mini ones on the blades. At least that's what I call the blades. Okay, pickup tool is not handy, but my pokey tool is. This one's a little thinner anyway. Well, nothing's working here. Fingers, pokey tool. Okay, now I had a little, I can't say difficulty. I wanted to get this centered. It's a Becky thing. And so what I did is I lined up the bottom here. Okay? So now to put this on, like so, it's going to be glued to the other flap, the right side. So again, I'm trusting this is a little more than 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to center that where I want it, minus my little guy there. Press it down. And then here's where you've got your flap and your flap. Okay, let me then show you a trick for getting that piece on the inside. This is one of the things I teach my customers to do all the time. First of all, we need to get this piece together. Now, if you want to stamp the little row of tulips on the bottom, that would have been cute. Your sentiment or whatever. But what I do to make sure that this is behind here, and actually it should be even behind this piece here. I line these up like this. And do my 5-swipe rule. And then I close the card. Could you see that? And now it's right behind that, which means when I close it all, it's right behind that. Ta-da! Okay, I decided on this one to use some actual rhinestones, and I have to share these new rhinestones with you. We have a new collection coming out called Waves of the Ocean, and one of the items we can get are these rhinestone basic jewels, and they're in all shades of blue and mint and aqua, and they are just to die for and very, very shiny. So be watching for those. Customers can order those beginning March 1st while supplies last. So on this one, that's where the jewels are here. They're one of the shades, odd numbers, 4 corners, and on the center where the bolt might be for the blades, I added a little bow on this one. This is also from the mini catalog. And so I wasn't sure. I think I would prefer rhinestones. And if you are lucky enough to still have any peacock rhinestones, these were Noble Peacock. They were from a couple years ago. And they have a beautiful purple. But since I wasn't sure what you ladies would have, I am going with our pastel pearls, which are still available. So this might be a little too upbeat. And there is a gorgeous grape. There's a lighter lavender one too, which is probably Highland Heather, I would guess. These are all the same size, where I think, yeah, I used 2 different sizes on this one. And I think we'll use a dark one still in the center. Okay. And I'm done with my funky fold using my tulip fields. All right. So let me show you a couple other samples before I finish. The original sample done by Terri Gaines looked like this. And she ran it through the timber embossing folder. I did use 2 layers on it, but I used the other tulip, the dimensional tulip, and it fits so nicely on that piece. And this is, and it's Poppy Parade, so that's how this one looks. She did it in the Mango Melody and the Lavender DSP as well. So that was my original. I frequently do the original, what I see, and then it gives me a springboard for other things. So then I had my Daffodil Afternoon paper out from Celebration. And I had debated about using this, and then I fell in love with the Windmill. So this is the same layout. I used a different color, black, which I know is hard to see. I embossed it with the Time Worn Type embossing folder. And I added a piece of designer paper. But the one thing I wanted to share with you with that designer paper, let me see if I can find them. Here it is. No, this is the piece I colored. That's why I can't find it. This paper is not colored. And I had that paper handy too, and I don't see it. This is vanilla. So I have colored it with dark daffodil to get a colored daffodil. And so I paired it with the Old Olive, and I used vanilla. I took my blender brush and added a little color. This one I did also run through an embossing machine, the embossing folder, and colored with blends and stamped it out. So that's a single daffodil. And then I had a paper that I hadn't used yet in this collection. It's actually Pale Papaya and Flirty Flamingo. And I decided to try putting DSP on the sides. That left me with, oh my, what do I do with the center? And I tried putting a strip of the stripe, and I didn't like that. And I tried using another print, and I didn't like that. I even went to my designer series packs, my little 6x6 DSP packs, and I didn't like that. So I just left it pink. So that's Flirty Flamingo, and I've put Flirty Flamingo and Petal Pink, and I just love the colors in this daffodil. I just think it's wonderful. And then I've added the soft pink polished dots that are new in the mini catalog right now. 2. So here's my funky fold for today, and one that I've added. And I will place these all so you have some inspiration. I like to be able to share. So there's colors, designs, and depending on what you have in your collection of stamps and dies. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you have an awesome weekend. And I'll see you next Friday to learn how to build these dimensional tulips. Thanks. Bye.